Well, today we're going to go to work on doing a little upgrade on my Morizumi spoke threading machine. And specifically what we're going to be working on is the spoke holding trapdoor, I call it. Now, to load a spoke in the machine, you have to push that little lever down and then spring back and holds it in place while you thread the spoke. Now, the only thing is that you'd have to pretty much get in there with a fingernail to push it down. And after 10 years of doing that, I'm getting kind of tired of it. So the new machines, they actually come with a little knob on there, so you can just push on it with your finger, and you don't have to, get your fingernail involved. So anyway, my plan is to fit a knob on there myself. So what I've got is I've got these little furniture or cabinet pulls, drawer pulls actually, and what I'm going to do is fit one of them on there, so I can just push on it like that and not have to break my fingernails doing it. So the last video that I did on this machine was the installation of this counter. That was a few weeks ago, and since then I've run 522 spokes through this, which represents about half of the wheels that I've built since then, since I don't have to cut and thread all the spokes that I use. But anyway, the numbers rack up pretty quick. Alright, so we're going to have to partially disassemble this to be able to get at that. So the first thing we'll do is remove the movable die. This block has to come out of the way. This is the clamp that clamps the adjuster that switches between the different gauges. And now I just need to wiggle that off of there. There's a spring-loaded guide in there that runs on this shaft, so it'll be a little bit of a trick to get out of there. Carefully pry it a bit once we get something in there. Very carefully. There we go. Spring-loaded block will come loose. Alright, so that's that block with a spring on it. Fits in there, and that rides on that shaft. Now the purpose of that spring, now this block is what switches us back and forth between the two different gauges of spokes. This machine's set up for 14 and 15 gauge spokes, 15 gauge being 1.8 millimeter and 14 being 2 millimeter. And so when we switch it to 15 millimeter, this block, which is slightly wedge shaped, as is this, will push this the fixed die 0.2 millimeters closer to the moving die. And when we switch it back to, that's a 15 gauge, when we switch it back to 14 gauge, it needs to retract that 0.2 millimeters, so it needs that spring to push it back. So it's vital that that spring be in place. Alright, so now we're going to mark our location for drilling the hole. Just scribe a line around the mounting base of the knob like so, and locate the center roughly, very roughly. working in the shadow here a little bit. Alright, so that's where we're going to drill our hole. And cabinet hardware is almost universally number 8 32 screws, but the hardware that comes with it has like a round head, so we need a flat head. So we need a drill and then countersink to get the head out of the way, because there's not much clearance between that and the movable die. So then when we get the hole drilled in place, the knob will go there like so. Okay, now we countersink it. Be careful you don't go too deep. We need to go deep enough so that we get the head of the screw flush. And you need to go a little bit more. Not quite flush yet. Okay, so it's still a little bit proud, but we're getting that hole enlarged quite a bit there. But I still want to take it just a little bit more. Very small degrees with this. Okay, I've gone as deep as I think I want to go there, and our screw head is still standing a little bit proud, so I'm going to tackle it the other way. I'm going to file a bit off the screw head and try and get down closer to flush. Okay, after several minutes work with the file, we've got that pretty much flush there. So now I'm going to put a little bit of blue Loctite on the screw here, because I do not want it to come loose, because getting in behind there to tighten it would be a chore. Alright, so we'll just thread on our little knob there. We've made the Robertson socket a little bit more shallow there, but we can still get a purchase on it with a screwdriver. So good and tight. And there we go. Finger fits on the knob very nice. That'll be much more comfortable to use. Okay, so we're ready to reinstall the fixed die block. So checking that we've got the spring properly installed. Work that onto the shaft like so. Make sure we're set on the 14 gauge. Clamp that down in place. We install our moving die. Yeah, that's nice for getting the finger in there. Okay, very good. So anytime you have this disassembled, you need to test it to make sure that the dies are properly lined up, that they roll a nice straight thread. So here we have a blank, and insert it in like so. Oh, look how slick that was. And then we roll the spoke through, and thread on the nipple. Goes on nice and smooth. It's nice and snug. There's absolutely no wiggling there. And then we take a look at the thread under high magnification. And the thread looks good. The crests are all nice and sharp. So we're good to go for a while. So there you have it. That's how to install a knob on the, actually they call this the guide plate. I had to look that up. I wasn't sure what it was called. They call that the guide plate, and I see that you can actually buy a replacement that has the knob installed, but anyway, yeah, much better than having to get in there with a fingernail. That's going to make this much more pleasant to use. Anyway, that's how you do it. Thanks for watching. See you later.